expenses and to support the organization. And we have a series of great programs coming up. Next month, we're going to have Dahlia Lithwick speaking about the Supreme Court, and we're looking forward to that. And today, we welcome our candidates for the 5th District, and we hope to take the focus off the national election for a few minutes here and focus more locally and give us some information. And I believe this is going to be the first in a series of forums for these two candidates. Our moderator today will be Bob Gibson, and Bob is going to give us the ground rules, and I'm going to turn the meeting over to him. So welcome, and it's good to have you here.
Thank you very much. Welcome to this afternoon's 5th District Congressional Candidate Forum, sponsored by the Senior Statesman of Virginia. I'm your moderator, Bob Gibson. We have a participatory format for this afternoon's 90-minute forum, which marks the first time this year that these two candidates for Congress have faced off to discuss issues together. I brought half a dozen questions myself, fearing that there might not be enough people in the room to ask 90 minutes worth of questions, so we need. You, the audience, are encouraged to participate by posing questions in written form for the candidates. We also ask that you respectfully refrain from applause or any other demonstrations of affection or displeasure during the forum, except when the two candidates are introduced and when we conclude the forum. We'd like to welcome all of you here to the Senior Center in Charlottesville and to thank the Senior Center for hosting the forum. There will be another forum for the candidates in Greene County, sponsored by the League of Women Voters, on October 18th, William Monroe High School. A warm welcome is now due for our two candidates for Congress in the 5th Congressional District, Democratic Party nominee Jane Dittmar of Albemarle County. Republican Party nominee Tom Garrett of Buckingham County. Jane Dittmar is the past chair of the Albemarle County Board of Supervisors and former supervisor from the Scottsville Magisterial District. She served on the Governor's Broadband Advisory Council. Jane Dittmar is a certified mediator for both the General District and Circuit Courts, and has served as court coordinator for the General District, Juvenile and Domestic Relations, and Circuit Courts for the City of Charlottesville and the counties of Albemarle, Fluvanna, Greene, and Louisa. She attended the Arlington County Public Schools after her family moved here from rural Illinois, and she graduated from the University of Virginia, where she received a degree in economics. Since then, she's attended the UVA Darden School's executive program and the Virginia Tech Center for Public Administration and Public Policy, and over the past 40 years, she has led and run and worked at businesses in Nelson, Fluvanna, Albemarle, and the City of Charlottesville. Republican Tom Garrett lives in Buckingham County, just south of Scottsville, and is in his second term as state senator representing the 22nd Senatorial District in Virginia. The state senate district is quite large and consists of all or portions of the counties of Amherst, Appomattox, Buckingham, Cumberland, Fluvanna, Goochland, Louisa, Prince Edward, and part of the city of Lynchburg. Tom is a graduate of Louisa County High School and earned both a bachelor's and law degree from the University of Richmond, served 6 years in the Army, worked as Assistant Attorney General under Bob McDonnell when Bob McDonnell was Attorney General. In 2007, he challenged and defeated two-term incumbent for the office of Commonwealth's Attorney for Congress in Louisa County and won that office. Then he won a 5-way race for the 5th District nomination for Congress, for the 22nd Senatorial District, and won the 22nd Senatorial District over a Lynchburg Democrat who outspent him about 2-1. Our ground rules are simple this afternoon. We are going to have 3-minute opening and 3-minute closing statements from each of the candidates. We had a coin toss prior to the forum, and Jane Dittmar won the toss and will speak first. Each candidate will have 90 seconds to answer questions from the audience, which I will pose from the cards that have been passed up. We have enough cards to keep going for about 5 hours, but we will go into closing statements just before 3 o'clock this afternoon. So I'd like to begin with our first candidate, Jane Dittmar.
Thank you, Bob. I wanted to tell everyone how pleased I am to see you here today. I've been truly looking forward to this. It's the first opportunity we have for a compare and contrast. It's also an opportunity for us, as Bob said, to forget about the national race just for the next hour and concentrate on what the 5th District needs and the kind of person you would like to send to Washington. I would like to be your representative in Washington, and I would like to be the first woman congresswoman from this area. Background and experiences do count. Bob read a bit of a resume for me, but there are a number of you who I know, and then a lot of faces I didn't know when you came in. So I want to tell you why some of the experiences I've had in my life are relevant to you as you decide who to send to Washington. First, Bob mentioned that I come from farm country, Illinois, rural American roots. I was brought as a little girl to Northern Virginia, where I was educated and eventually was blessed to be brought into the University of Virginia as one of the first classes of women. I learned the scientific background as far as what makes an economy hum when I took my degree in economics. And then I learned the practical side of how an economy hums when I started and managed a series of successful small businesses. At a certain point, I was asked by our business community, we had about 1,200 businesses active in the region, to lead them as their president, and I did that for 9 years. Here's what I learned from that experience and the signature I put on those years. I helped bring together public-private partnerships where civic leaders move together in the same direction on initiatives to help our community. During that time, and my husband is here, my husband and I have raised 6 children. We actually went through the Great Recession and firmly understand what it's like to feel economic insecurity and also to hope for the future of the next generation. I left the chamber. I trained as a certified mediator. I'm skilled in bringing people together to resolve disputes, both individuals, attorneys, organizations, and I used that skill when I went on the Board of Supervisors. I chaired our Board of Supervisors here in Albemarle County. That was my legislative experience, and I learned firsthand what that seat in Washington can do for all of us. And I have some specific projects I'd like to work on. I'm sure those will come out in the question and answer period. The thing I'd like to leave you with is there's another reason why I'm running besides actionable results, and that is I think we've sent the wrong people to Washington. We want to send people who want to do the business of our people, who want to get along. We can disagree on principled policy, but we also have to have principled compromise. And I have a record of doing that in this community, and I will do it for the 5th District. Anyway, I look forward to your questions, and I will have some closing comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. I want to thank you and the other Bob, the immediate past president and senior statesman, John, Terry, Madison, Rich, Margaret, and all exactly 200 people who are in this room, because the fire marshal says there can't be any more than that, so it knows exactly It's an incredible honor to be here in front of you today and standing next to Jane, who I hold in high regard. You know, this district, somebody asked me a while ago what it might be like to replace Robert Hurt. You know, he's done a good job, and these are big shoes to fill. And I said, well, you know, if you know your history, and I know Jane knows this, if you go back, the first Virginia representative to the House of Representatives from the 5th is a fellow named James Madison. So those are little tiny big shoes to fill. A little bit about myself. I grew up in Louisa County, attended Louisa County High School. I'm a big fan of Albemarle High School sports now. That's not true. Played a little football, wrestled a little bit. Went to college and paid for that with an ROTC scholarship, and subsequently served as a fire supporter for just under 6 years, and served abroad, leading soldiers in harm's way in Operation Joint Guard and Joint Endeavor. Have seen soldiers leave, having paid the ultimate sacrifice while we're in a uniform and understand what that means. So I served there. I served as a prosecutor in a county where there was a problem, certainly by virtue of the population and the crime rate that was out of whack with all other statistics, and cut the category one crime rate 50% in 1 year. I'm proud of that service. I'm proud of being able to give that back to my community. And served as a state senator for 5 years, and garnered a lot of awards that were, bipartisan awards. They weren't Republican awards or Democrat awards. In fact, our first year, the chamber named us the Freshman of the Year. There were 26 or 24 people in our freshman class between the House and Senate. 2 were distinguished as the Freshman of the Year. We earned that award for getting things done. Earned the Champion of Criminal Justice Award. Earned the Champion of Regulatory Reform Award, rolling back regulations on things like who might be allowed to braid hair for a living or to drive a tow truck to support their family. Just recently, in fact, I think yesterday, earned the endorsement of the National Federation of Independent Businesses, which is pretty awesome. It's 1,497 independent businesses in the 5th Congressional District, and many times that many employees, because we've worked with these folks and they know that we're willing to work across the aisle to get things done. And it's not just talk. When Dave Marsden carried bills in Virginia to ensure that children with intractable epileptic seizures could have access to cannabinoid A oils, medical marijuana, I spearheaded a Republican effort to make sure that these things were allowed. Right now, federally, cocaine is listed as a Schedule II controlled substance, meaning there are legitimate recognized medical uses. But marijuana is a Schedule I, saying there aren't any, right? I think Jane and I could agree that people in Washington sometimes are so afraid to do the right thing that they ignore problems when they try to cross the room and wave at them. Worked with Barbara Favola, Democrat of Arlington, to end the ridiculous, draconian, and cruel practice of seclusion and restraint of our children when they handcuff primarily little boys to chairs and converted janitor's closets. This happened in Virginia until 2 years ago when I worked across the aisle with Senator Favola to end that ridiculous practice. Who has the cards? Okay. And I'll have a closing statement too. Thanks everybody, thanks Bob, and hold that card up higher, I didn't see it. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Time for questions from the audience. I'm going to combine the first 2 questions together. Each candidate will have 90 seconds to respond, and we'll go with Senator Garrett first. Do you support legislation in Virginia to require congressional and state legislative districts to be drawn on clear, nonpartisan criteria? The second part of the question, Senator Garrett, in 2015 you voted for every anti-gerrymandering measure 1 Virginia 2021 supported. In 2016 you voted against every such measure. Please explain your change of position and tell us where you stand today on efforts to end gerrymandering in Virginia.
Well, I anticipated that that question might arise at this debate, so I wanted to give you guys material for the question. No, ultimately, I'm a little hesitant as it relates to bipartisan redistricting because the difference between a thinker and a learner is asking that second question. The first question is almost always easily answered. Should we have universal access to health care? Absolutely, right? That's easy. Then the how and the who and the what becomes more difficult. Is bipartisan redistricting a good idea? Absolutely. Who appoints the bipartisans? Right? All too many times in politics, and make no mistake about it, the appointment of bipartisan redistrictors, whether they were judges or whomever, would be affected by a political process. Things masquerade as bipartisan and they're not. And I think folks on both sides of the aisle can see that and appreciate that reality. So I'm in favor of eliminating ridiculous gerrymandered districts so long as we can do so in a manner that would be fair to both sides. I think candidly that the best solution, because I like to offer solutions instead of just offering platitudes, might be some sort of automated process that tries to group together communities of interest wherein both sides, Democrats and Republicans, agree on what these definitions are, and then essentially to press a button and then agree on districts. But to have people appointed by a Republican governor and then call themselves bipartisan, or Democrat governor and call themselves bipartisan, I think is unfortunately a little bit unrealistic.
Thank you, Tom Garrett. Jane Ditmar, same question.
When I was on the Board of Supervisors, we actually did pass a resolution in support of 1 Virginia 2021 and encouraged all of the legislators that represented parts of Albemarle to support it. I am hearing about this issue all over the 5th District. People are amazed